Death is the unyielding truth that binds us all, an inevitable, profound, and deeply intimate encounter with the finite nature of life. It arrives without warning, shattering the world we thought we knew. In its wake, grief emerges, often dismissed as something to fix or get over. But what if grief, in its suffocating pain, is not a burden to carry or something from which we need to move on? What if grief is instead a sacred invitation, an opening to feel more deeply, to connect in unimaginable ways, and to transform all that we knew to be true? I'm Laura Walton, and I'm so grateful you're here. Together, let's step into the uncharted terrain of death and grief, not as something to fear or avoid, but as a force that shapes us, breaks us, and ultimately remakes us. Let's meet it not with resistance, but with curiosity and courage. And let's do this on purpose. All right, welcome back. We are here today with Christina Nystrom. Thank you for being here, Christina.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Christina and I actually have never met in person, but we were connected through a yoga teacher who I know and who Christina works for, because I think he believed that you might be a good fit for this project and what we're working on.
Absolutely.
Christina, would you mind just sharing a little bit about who you are, what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm actually a mobile yoga instructor for spiritually fit recovery. And we go around to different treatment centers throughout the valley for people recovering from substance abuse or various mental things that they have going on. So I work with teenagers and adults, and it's really changed my life. This is my purpose in life. And unfortunately, it took kind of a rocky road to realize that this is what I needed to be doing. But I'm so grateful for where I am now.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that his business and the business you work for I thought it was just more like studio based. I didn't realize that they had mobile units.
Yeah. So the studio only opened about a year and a half ago now. That was super exciting. I was there for that from the beginning. So it's been great to watch it grow. But it's amazing work. So many people need help.
How many different facilities do you go to?
Me personally, I think 5 or 6 maybe, but I know company-wide, we're in over 30 different locations in the valley. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, it sounds like that business has really grown from when I first knew him. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It has. It is.
So as far as teaching yoga, then do you primarily teach it within the context of like substance programs?
Yeah, it depends on the group. Honestly, it just varies. Like chat with them a little bit, try and connect, really see what they're going through and what they're working through. And sometimes that is grief. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're just scared. They've never lived without a substance, and it just varies. So yoga, meditation, conversation can really mean a lot to them sometimes too. So sometimes we'll just talk for a while.
Yeah, that's cool. How long have you been teaching yoga?
I've been teaching for 2 years now.
Okay. And how long have you been practicing?
About 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then, what's your yoga background? What is it that got you into yoga, and what is it that got you dedicated to the practice and the teaching?
When I was in treatment myself, Jacob came in and he was one of my instructors, and it really resonated with me then. And I used to go to their Saturday night classes. I'd round everybody up in sober living and be like, we're going to yoga tonight, guys. And just take a bunch of people over there. And it always stuck in the back of my mind. But I had a job already in food and beverage and hospitality. So ultimately, that's what I was doing for a few years until I had a lot of loss in my life. And I had a big mental breakdown, and I took a leave of absence, and I really just prioritized everything in my life and took a chance. And now I get to teach full time, and couldn't be happier with that.
Cool. What was it that got you to that very first yoga class?
Oh, at the studio, I knew that it was close by and that it was free. And I was like, this is a new way, like something, it just felt right, like in my soul. Like it felt like something that I needed to pursue. And I'm so glad I did because it's helped me work through so much.
Yeah. Looking back at where you were at that time, do you think you were looking for something with the yoga?
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what, but I feel like yoga helped with everything that I was going through because just the way it helps you focus and pulls you inward and the breathing and the concentration, like it just all encompassing. It's really healthy. It breaks open. It just like cracks open your body and releases all the emotions that you may have shoved down or suppressed.
Yeah. Yes, it can do that.
Yeah, I've cried.
Which sometimes it can be hard and scary.
Absolutely. I've cried on my mat so many times.
Yeah.
I think it's really beautiful though, because it is a safe space.
I think so. Sometimes that can be something that is scary for people. Like that maybe a reason why they don't want to do that.
Absolutely.
Do you ever come across that in the work that you do?
Yeah, actually. And because I've had some students cry during my classes, like where they've just had such an experience or like we did a certain movement that opens like your hips or your heart and they don't know why they're crying. And I'm like, that's a good thing. I was like, this is healing. I was like, don't be ashamed of it. You can just let it happen. And it's beautiful, but they definitely are standoffish at first, especially if I tell them you might feel some things that you aren't expecting. But
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to feel. It's hard to sometimes willingly sign up for something where we know that's going to happen.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And then on a different but related topic, I'd love to hear your grief story, whatever that is and whatever that means.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, oh my gosh. So I got sober in 2018, November 2018. And then in 2020, we all remember that year, right? I remember it was a leap year that year. And so February 29th, I moved in with the guy I was dating at the time, and his name is Adam. And we were living together through like quarantine and everything, and it was okay until it wasn't. Like I started noticing some weird behaviors and just really watching that person that I loved so much just disappear right in front of my eyes, which is such a strange experience. And then it came out that he had relapsed and it just spiraled from there. And we went our separate ways. And he had been wanting to meet up a few times going into 2021 and over the summer. But I was like, you really just need to focus on you right now. Let me know when you have 6 months and then a year, and then we can get coffee. And then in the fall of 2021, he actually committed suicide. And I got a call from his brother, who's the one that actually found him, unfortunately. So that was the start. And then a few months after that, my dad passed away. Totally unexpectedly. We had been playing phone tag the day before. And I just still remember that day so clearly. I was working. It was a Sunday, and that was in March of 2022. So we just hit 3 years, but I was at work and I remember checking my phone and I had missed calls from like my dad and from one of my brothers. And I was like, oh, weird. Okay. And then there was a text from my brother who was like, hey, call me when you can. So I think it must have been my dad's wife just calling me on his phone. That was that actual missed call because he had passed away in the middle of the night. And so I was struggling, but I still wasn't fully processing, or I just didn't know how to. And then so later that year, I started working with my therapist, Ed, who's amazing. He's helped me through a lot of dark times. And so after my dad, I lost one of my best friends in the recovery program, actually. His name is John. And he was also unexpected. They found him like OD'd in a hotel. I got a text message about it when I was on vacation up in Seattle, and it was just so shocking. And then I continued to just like dive into my work, which I was working at a resort at the time as a barista and a cashier, but it just was all like piling up. And I was just crying constantly. And as for that job in particular, like sometimes you'd be scheduled to be on barista, sometimes you'd be cashier or food prep or just different stations throughout. But I was crying just constantly. So even on the cashier days, like my coworkers really stepped up. They were like, "Hey, why don't you do coffee today?" So that I wouldn't have to try to fake these interactions with the customers. Because I also just felt this anger that I had never experienced before, where I'm like, in my head, I'm like, doesn't anybody see that this coffee drink doesn't matter in the world at all? I was like, this is the last thing I care about right now. I don't care.
Yeah.
Which is really out of character for me. And just so then I took a leave of absence and really focused on my mental health, dove into therapy and met with a psychiatrist. And then Jacob actually was able to build up my class schedule during that time. And I just told them that I wouldn't be coming back. And now I teach full time. And there's still been a couple more losses. Like my best friend from high school, her dad passed away the year after my dad did. And then recently, just earlier this year, actually, one of my students passed away. I'd had him at a couple different treatment centers. And that was really a new experience as far as grief goes. It's just a different kind of bond. Yeah. So a lot of it.
You have had a lot in a short amount of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's, if you don't acknowledge it, it's going to sneak up on you and it's going to, I don't know.
Yeah. Did you always know that, or was that something you had to learn?
Oh, I had to learn. Yeah. Like I had learned some different steps for dealing with things in life, but I feel like grief there's no handbook for it. And I know there's the different stages that are outlined, but they don't come, it's not linear. It's one day you're like, oh yeah, okay. And then the next day you're crying again. And it's all over the place. And it still comes up in waves sometimes, and just have to take it as it comes and know that it'll pass. But I feel like in those early days, especially, you don't know that. You're like, this is never going to end. I'm just going crazy. And I actually thought I was.
Yeah.
I remember saying to someone, I was like, what if I just go insane and never come out of it? What?
Yeah.
Because there's no way. What do you do? What do I do
Yeah.
with my dad? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Just go crazy. Like that we are going
like,
crazy.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's hard to find people who've had the same sort of experience because nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
So, which is why this is great.
Yeah. So yeah, why do you, just in your experience, why do you think that is that you questioned your sanity, questioned whether or not you were going crazy?
Yeah. It's just like an overwhelming of all these emotions and feelings and these simple tasks that like normally you can get through easy are overwhelming. Like I couldn't go to the grocery store. I was having groceries delivered because I couldn't do it. And I think it is just because it's not addressed as much as it needs to be. People avoid bringing it up. They think if you need to talk about it, you will. But you, at least for me personally, didn't want to be a downer in the group or something or bring it down. And so it's just like an awkward, unspoken sort of scenario in social situations. And I think that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Did you find yourself not surrounded by anybody else who had experienced deaths like that?
Pretty much. Yeah. It felt like it. Of course, I did have actually one yoga instructor who had lost her dad about 7 years prior. So she was super supportive, and she was amazing. And I was like, okay, she knows then. Like, she really knows. And but like, as far as everyone else, my family, I felt like I could talk to them if I needed to, but it was also just a little awkward because not everybody was on great terms with my dad. His parents were divorced, and just things like that make it like, can I grieve to this person really? Or because our relationships were different. But
Yeah.
so if you can't find someone who can relate, it's hard to explain like the depth of what you're feeling to someone who hasn't been through it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. What's your dad's name?
Mike.
Mike?
Yes. Mike Sahidi. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, nothing. I was just like, we've got pictures of him right up there. That his best friend gave me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you lost people who were different relationships to you, and through different circumstances. So was there, I think every death is different, the way that it impacts us, because every relationship is different and every history within that relationship is different. So was there, and I'm not trying to suggest that one death is easier or harder or better or worse than another. They're all just different. But for you, was there an experience that was more challenging for you to manage?
Oh my gosh. I think the suicide was very difficult to navigate because there was a lot of survivor's guilt or the what if game. I got really good at that. What if I had met up with him? Would he be okay? What if this? What if that? I know he was so far gone from like his substance use that it wasn't still him. Like that wasn't the real like version of him that did that. So that was a really tough one to navigate for sure. And then I don't know, my dad too, though, because it's like he brought me into the world. Like, what do I do without him? It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything about your experiences of grief in any one of these relationships that was surprising to you?
And I think the anger really surprised me because I'm not normally a very angry person. I'm pretty like patient and I like to listen. I love to laugh. And so for me to feel like anger and just be crying all the time, I felt like I just didn't know myself anymore in a way. And so it was like a weird transition where like you're just breaking yourself open and just reconnecting with yourself like on a deeper level, I feel.
Yeah. What did you learn to do with that anger?
Let myself feel it, but I learned not to direct it at the customer who's just trying to get their coffee, just drink. I could scream like into a pillow or singing. I found singing actually is super helpful, like in my car, really loud, just crying. Just let yourself feel it so you can let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. So where does yoga and grief intersect for you?
Oh, and it's so grounding and just it breaks you open so that you can release everything that your body is holding on to, because the body stores all the anger, the sadness, the confusion, the denial, or anything you might be going through, and it just helps release all of that, and it helps you feel you're reconnected to your body, for me anyway. And that was so important for me because I just felt so disconnected and in such unfamiliar territory. Like it was good to feel like, okay, this is something I do have control over still. This is helping me move forward. This is helping me remember to breathe and focus on one thing at a time, one breath at a time. And
yeah. So when you say that it helps you to release all of these things, is that specifically physically that you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Physically.
Okay. So it helps you to physically move stuff, the emotions and stuff
the emotions,
in the body.
Yeah.
If you if you had not have had your physical yoga practice throughout your grief, how do you think things might have been different for you?
I don't know. I might have grasped at different physical outlets. Like I might have tried running instead, which is like not something I normally enjoy, but just something to, I don't know. I don't think I'd be in as healthy of a place as I am now without yoga.
It sounds like maybe what you're pointing to in part is that intuitively there was a piece of you or a part of you that knew that it needed to move.
Yes.
In some way, like to move this energy. And
absolutely.
Is that anything that prior to yoga were you a person who sought out movement?
I was, yeah, because I grew up doing a lot of dance, like ballet, tap, and then like swimming. I love swimming. I was on swim team and stuff too. So I've always been a pretty active person, whether that was dance or swim or occasional run, but not my favorite. Just always something going on.
So movement was a language that you already spoke in some way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And are you familiar with the other limbs of yoga?
Like the metaphysical?
Yeah. The other limbs that aren't asana or aren't the physical practice of yoga.
Yeah, like the yamas, niyama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a part of your practice or your study at all?
They are, yeah. And they have been helpful for sure. Like the self-study, journaling to be super helpful, and surrender there's all very beneficial. Meditation, for sure. My meditation practice has definitely leveled up. And I just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Svadhyaya, which is the self-study. I believe you said through journaling, that's been a really helpful tool for you.
Yeah.
What is that?
And I actually...
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a notebook also. I have a notebook for Adam from after he passed away. And I would keep track of things that triggered me or made me feel this way, whether it was a song or going to this place. And I would just track my grief. And then my therapist gave me a notebook so I could have conversations with my dad. So I have that notebook as well still. And I'll just be like, hey, Dad, happy birthday, or this is what's going on now. And I found that's also very helpful to feel connected and like that love is still being expressed, but just in a different way.
So that gives you a sense of connection with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you feel that connection in some form or another?
I do. Yeah, I do. There's always little reminders or like a little something that makes me think of them. And I'm like, oh, that's them saying hello. And that's really comforting to me.
Yeah. Do you think that you got that connection through the Svadhyaya, the self-study, the journaling and writing? Or did you get that through something else?
I feel like it's a combination of, yes, the self-study as well as just being present in the moment and really reminding myself to stay in this moment instead of worrying about the future or the past. But if you take like this moment and you notice like everything that's beautiful in it, there could be something there that like somebody's trying to show you, whether they're still here with you physically or not. Like I still think that there are messages there and little messages, greetings. Yeah.
I love that. I love the presence because that's a huge teaching and practice of yoga is just being present, right? In any given moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're right. If we're not present, we're not noticing what's going on around us. And if what's going on around us is some connection with our people who have passed on, and then you do have to be pretty present and paying attention in order to be able to pick up.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to miss those because they're really special. So.
Yeah, those are priceless. You don't want to be scrolling your phone during those.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned also, I think, the surrender as being a practice that's been helpful for you. How has that one been helpful for you?
Oh, just trying to not control everything, right? Yeah, in yoga, you can control your body and how it's moving. But everything else, like, it's just not up to you. Like, the universe has some other divine plan that I know nothing about. So you just have to keep moving forward and say, okay, I trust you. Like, you'll get me through this and I'll come out the other side of it instead of just drowning in it.
Yeah. Is that something that you learned primarily through your yoga practice?
Surrender was big in my recovery, actually, as well. So it's a big part of it.
Yeah. How does that, just on a practical application, how does that for you, that practice of surrender translate into the physical practice of yoga?
I think it helps with listening to my body. If you don't listen to your body and don't surrender, if like you have an injury or something doesn't feel good, don't just press through it. You need to surrender to your body and your physical limits and respect your body in that way and let it heal and let it do what it needs to do. It's okay if you can't do this pose. A lot of people don't realize that. Or they'll constantly be comparing, and it's, no, that's not what it's about. This practice is about you and how you feel in your body. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And just surrender that ego that might be part of it and just focus on feeling good.
Yes. Yes. Did you approach your grief with the intention of using yoga, any of these practices of yoga, as a part of it? Or did that just accidentally happen?
It just lined up that way. What happened was I started my 200-hour teacher training in the spring of 2022. And a couple weeks into it was when my dad passed away. And I was distraught and so like unfocused. The owner of the studio, she's like, okay, like you can come back for the fall session. Like if this is too much for you right now. And I was like, okay, great. So I went back in the fall and I finished it. And so then diving deeper into all these, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I wish I had tried it still in the spring. You just can't. Sometimes you just can't. So yeah, as we dove more into all the different aspects of yoga and all the limbs, I was like, wow, this is so applicable and so helpful and relevant. And I was like taking so many notes in my notebook. I was just like, okay, I'm using this and this. Yeah. And just really apply it. And I think it really helped.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything you found other than your yoga practice that's felt like it's been more helpful to you in navigating your grief?
Therapy has been great. Helping me just talk it out. But yeah. But I think really like writing has been huge for me. Okay. I found music can be overwhelming sometimes. So I have started listening to way more podcasts because sometimes music just pulls at the heart a little too much. And I was like, I don't feel like crying today.
Yeah. Okay. And then what have you found to be the least helpful thing in navigating your grief?
People.
I knew you were going to say that. I somehow knew that was the answer. Other people.
Like, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful for people checking on me, but the asking me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." Like, of course I'm not okay. But or I don't like hearing "I'm sorry for your loss."
Oh,
I
yeah.
It's I know for me personally, I'm just like, I get it. You don't know what to say, but I'd rather you just didn't say anything. Didn't say that. Or just give me a
Yeah.
hug.
Yeah.
Just give me a hug. Don't say anything. Just give me a hug. Always
Yeah.
use hugs.
I know that's a cringy one for me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for your loss.
Is it?
What? Yeah. Even when you
Yeah.
see if people often post when somebody dies on social media,
Yeah.
and that seems to be 99% of the responses
Yeah.
are, I'm sorry for your loss.
I'm like,
And for me,
I'm like,
yeah, for me, it just
it's like,
makes
it's
me
not
cringe,
helping.
but yeah, why, for you, what is it about that statement though that just doesn't work?
I think, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like it's brushing it off. Like it's an obligatory sort of, they feel like they have to say this just to acknowledge it. But since they don't know what to say, because there are no words, there's just
Yeah.
not. And that's okay though. And I feel like that's what people just don't know. It's like, you don't have to say anything. Just show up. Just come give me a hug. And that'll mean more to me than hearing, I'm sorry for your loss for
Yeah.
the 18th time in an hour. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you respond to those types of things? If somebody else posts about a death, do you respond?
I don't. I have at least not publicly. I'll usually message them and check on them a little more and offer support or how also asking, oh, what can I do? I don't find that to be helpful either.
Yeah.
It's like okay, are you going to be here? Like, so I can bring you snacks or flowers or a hug or something
Yeah.
to just, I don't know, more than I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, different words, that sounds like you personally take more of a sense of like responsibility in it. Like you decide to bring them flowers or you decide to do whatever it is you decide to do,
Yeah.
as opposed to asking them to ask for it.
Yeah. At least just because I know how I was and like I didn't want to ask for anything, but it's hard to ask for help. At least I didn't know what to ask for. People are like, oh, if you need anything, let me know. And I'm like, I need my dad. Can you help me with
Can you
that?
do that?
Like, can you bring him back for me? Yeah. I'm like, it's just, yeah, I guess it is a more decisive action
Yeah.
for me, but just,
Well,
I'm like, what would I want?
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. And I think there are a lot of people who would in that. Yeah, when you're in that position, when somebody's saying, let me know what you need, you have no idea what you need.
Yeah.
And you're not you have 100 people telling you that. So you're not gonna reach out to 100 people and say, yes, you do this and you do this and you do this.
Yeah. It's too much.
Yeah, it really is. It really is too much. And so I think from in my experience, what I've seen, and you're saying the same thing, is what's actually more helpful is for the person who's trying to support somebody to just make a decision and do something. Like just showing up in that way.
Absolutely.
Is, I think, so much more greatly appreciated to the griever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Show up. That's it.
Yeah. In whatever the way is. Yeah.
Even if we're just silent and you give me a hug, that's perfect. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been in a position at all yet of being a support person for somebody else who's grieving? Since you've experienced your loss?
Yeah. I have. My best friend's dad passed away. And so I was able to go to the service and check on her. She's got 3 kids and so much going on. And I could tell, I'm like, she's taking care of everyone else and ignoring her own needs right now. So just kind of try to be there for her. She lives across the country now, but they did have the service down in Yuma, which is where I grew up. But it's just checking in, but not being overwhelming with messages, because I know even that can be overwhelming, like checking your phone or hearing your phone buzz, you're like, no, I don't want to look at that. And also one of my friends from my home group, she lost her dad as well, a little after mine. And so I actually message her every morning. I got this book called Healing After Loss. And it's just daily meditations. And I read them in the mornings, but I'll send her a picture every day, every morning. And it's been like a year now since she lost her dad, but I still just message her. And she's like, oh, no, that's a good one. So it's just this different sort of connection and maybe a little different sort of support than they might get from someone who hasn't been through the same sort of loss.
Yeah.
I just try to really think about it from that perspective because I've been there and it's so hard.
Yeah. So it's your ability to face your own grief and be with your own grief impacted your ability to support somebody else in theirs?
Yeah, I think so. Because otherwise, I think, prior to experiencing it myself, I think I was hey, I'm sorry for your loss type of person. And now I'm like, oh, wait, my bad.
Can I redo all of those?
Yeah.
Please? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't come from bad intentions, I don't think, for a lot of people, but we just don't know better.
Yeah.
Because I think partly what you were saying at the beginning is nobody talks about it. So we have no information to pull from for it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you, if you feel comfortable sharing, do you have any belief system around death?
I do. And I feel like you're not just gone. I feel like there's some sort of, you call it a soul, you call it a spirit, that sort of lives on, and people can still honor that and keep your spirit alive and remembering you and remembering the good times and even the not great times. It's still a memory to be cherished, I feel. And so I don't think it's as just like black and white where it's, oh yeah, you're alive and then you're just gone forever. I think there's definitely some sort of continuance there, even if I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Has that belief system changed for you since you've experienced the deaths?
I think it's confirmed it for me. Yeah. Just from little things, little synchronicities where I'm like, there's no way that's not a message from Adam or from my dad or even my friend's dad. Which is nice. I just enjoy that.
Yeah. Do you have any good stories of those little synchronicities that have happened?
I actually, when I was finally able to go grocery shopping again, it was so weird. Let's see, actually. It was in the grocery store. You don't expect to see stuffed animals or anything, but Adam always had a thing with owls, actually. Like there was always one near him, no matter where he was. If we were at the park, there was one like on the lamppost. If we were at his house, there's one sitting on the fence, which I found, I always thought it was good luck because owls are really interesting. But so I made it to the grocery store and I actually saw this guy. Like I had this feeling like I was being watched. He like turned around like slowly, like I'm probably like in a movie. What is going on? But I saw this little guy there and I was like, what? He has to come home with me. So I've had him ever since. But it's just this little owl and I just think it's so cute.
He's very cute.
Yeah, it's just a little like comfort thing. I don't know. But I like to think that was him saying, hey, I'm okay. I'm not struggling anymore and you're doing okay. Like you're still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love those stories.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah. I find they bring so much comfort.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it's a choice. We get to choose whether or not we dismiss that as something coincidental or whether or not we want to believe it to be something else.
Yeah. I choose to believe every time. Yeah.
What does that do for you?
It's just comforting. It feels like we're still connected and that they're still like watching over me. Or I get told a lot that my dad would be so proud of me now for what I'm doing. And that that means so much to me. And I do feel that I think keeping those connections, staying aware of those connections is really important. And just those little moments. I'm here for it.
Yeah. They're the magic moments.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So as it relates to your teaching of yoga, do you have any vision of kind of what that looks like in the future for you?
No, it just depends on the group. And sometimes we'll get to talking and someone just lost their mom, or when they relapsed. And so they're back in treatment. And I'm like, okay, hey, I've been there. I know, I know what you're going through. Not exactly, obviously, because everyone's experience is different, but I just try to really teach from a place of, I don't know, empathy, and that you may not want to feel something, but your body might still need to release this. So try this today, try this and this, and just try it. You don't have to we're not going all crazy. It doesn't have to be like the cover of a magazine type yoga poses to feel the benefits. And I think just even moving your body is so important to feeling good again, and to feeling connected to yourself when you feel like you may not be.
Yeah. That brings up another question for me. In your grief, maybe in the earlier days of grief, did you ever have a concern of losing your sobriety?
Oh, I actually, by some miracle, no, it never crossed my mind, which is so amazing. I am so grateful. My sponsor, my therapist, my home group, everybody. But I still think about that sometimes, and I'm like, wow, how did that not? Because I had experienced loss prior to getting sober, and that was the solution. It was I'm just going to numb the pain. I don't have to actually feel this.
Right.
And then now all of a sudden it's boom, you've lost all these people that were so close to you, but you don't need or even feel the craving to go and drink or do anything. And that's so amazing to me.
Yeah. How do you make sense of that?
I don't. I just accept it, and I'm grateful, and know that someone's looking out for me. Yeah. Some sort of higher something.
Yeah. As an advocate of yoga, obviously I don't know if this is true for you, but it makes me wonder if you had in your practice of yoga, you had a greater tolerance of ability of being able to just sit in the hard stuff that maybe didn't exist as much before. Yeah. So you needed to turn to some kind of substance, because I know personally in my yoga practice, that's one of the many things I've gained from it is this ability to sit with discomfort, to sit with something that sucks, but I can sit with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I found actually yoga to be really helpful in my grief, is I can, as much as I hate it and as much as I would pay $1 million to change it if I could, I can't. And so maybe the next thing I can do is learn how to sit with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yoga's so great for that. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Have you found anything else as good as yoga for
No.
that? No. Me neither. No. Still looking fit.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm still looking, really, but
yeah, actually, I don't know why I would. Yeah. Why do we need to look when we found this? When we found the thing.
Yeah. I've got yoga. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, yeah, I actually am just coming off of an injury, so I haven't been able to practice much lately for about a month. And so it was during March and during the 3 years since my dad passed and the 3 years since the service. So I just had kind of nothing to distract me from that. So I really did. I just sat with it, felt it, released it. And I think, though, the patience that yoga builds and instills in you helped me get through that. When I wasn't able to go out and teach and be of service in the ways that I loved doing, it was just, okay, this is where I'm at. It's temporary and it'll pass.
Yeah. That's that perspective is quite a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So along your grief journey, are there anything that comes to mind, any particular like books or teachers or resources or anything other than yoga that you found to be particularly helpful?
Yes. Besides my therapist, his name is Ed, and I love him. He's fantastic. This book, Healing After Loss, has been amazing.
Who's that by?
Oops. Martha W. Hickman.
Okay.
Yes, fantastic book. I got it the day I got the phone call about Adam in 2021, and I've read it ever since because it just keeps staying relevant. Yeah, I love this book. Read it in my morning routine every morning.
Yeah.
And just sticking with having a morning routine, I think, has been really important for me as well. Because even on those days where I would just wake up and start crying, it felt still like readings, prayers, meditation, some stretches, and some movement, just to feel somewhat normal when you're in like those darkest places of grief that it takes you to, and just continuing to move through it, even if that's all you do for the day, because there were some days where that was all I could do.
Yeah.
But still doing that, I'm like, okay, I'm still here. I'm still able. I just have to feel all this first.
Yeah. What does your morning routine look like?
Getting mad at my alarm clock. And no, I am usually up pretty early, by 6 or so. And well, actually having a month off of work changed that. But yeah, usually up pretty early. And then I have 3 different books for my morning readings: Daily Reflections, Just for Today, and then Healing After Loss. And then I do some prayers, and then a meditation, and then some gentle movements and stretches. Usually some sun salutations as well. Those have been on hold since I injured my back. But still just stretching just to get the blood flowing, some movement, grounding. And then I actually have a whole list of morning texts that I send out. So one's to my sponsor, which is always one of my readings. It's like a picture of one of those. And then the Healing After Loss to my friend from my home group who lost her dad. And then just some good morning messages to family, close friends, just because I feel like it's so important to just reach out to people you care about. So it might be on my phone for a while, but it's not the first thing I do in the morning, which I like. I try to not touch my phone until after this is done, like when I'm sending those messages and stuff.
Yeah. I like that. It sounds like it's pretty much a non-negotiable, your morning routine.
Yes. Yep. I'm like, if I'm on vacation, nope, my books are coming with me. This is what I'm doing. Like, yeah. It's grown. It's gotten longer and longer the longer I've been sober, which I think is really beautiful, because I remember initially starting with one book in the morning, and then I got another one, and I was like, oh, I got another one. And then it was like, oh, text me this, text me that. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So just really holding that space for yourself to start your days it's become really important for me.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I love that. Sometimes I'm like, I really can't do anything before noon. So because I got to do all of these things.
Yeah, exactly. It's, oh, you have to be at work at this time, or you have to be out the door at this time. So, okay, I need 2 hours prior to that just for me to get centered and get, exactly, able to interact the way I want to show up in the world.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
for sure.
it is.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on today as it relates to your grief or your experience or yoga that you feel is still important to say?
Yes, actually. And it's a quote from my fellow yoga teacher, and the one, she had lost her dad several years ago. She told me that it doesn't get easier, but it gets different. And that sticks in my head so much, especially lately, like just having hit like the 3-year mark from my dad. I'm like, okay, I think I'm maybe starting to understand this a little bit, what she meant, but that really resonates with me. And so
Yeah.
hopefully it will with someone else
Yeah.
as well.
I like
I
that. So
love it.
when she first said that to you, what did that mean to you? Or how did you respond to that?
I was like, okay. But I was like, I don't think I found it comforting at the time. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't get easier? I'm going to feel this way forever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I see how it's shifting now. I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as time has passed now, how has that made different sense to you?
I feel like initially I was just in that such a shocked state, and the sadness, the denial, the anger, all these things. And now I'm in a much healthier, happier place with these losses, where I can remember the positive things and not just look at just the loss and just the massive future without them in my life, because they are still here and they are still with me. And I can think back on the good times and like the happy times that we had together and that we shared, and be grateful that we had that. Whereas before it was just like inconsolable. No, this is awful. This is the worst. I'm never going to get out of this feeling. So,
Yeah.
it's
I love
definitely
that.
different. Yeah.
It doesn't get easier, it gets different.
Yeah.
It's so true for grief.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's also so true for our yoga practice, whether we're talking about physical yoga practice or otherwise. It applies to that too.
It's always challenging in a different way. It just depends on the day. Absolutely.
Yeah. It depends on the day. Depends on what you're bringing.
Yeah.
What you're bringing that day.
Yeah. Could be a lot, could be not much, but either way is okay.
Yeah. I like that. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story. It's been such an honor to hear it and to hear of your people. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm happy to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you for being here with me, Laura Walton, and my incredible guest on Grief on Purpose. Your presence is a gift, and I'm so grateful you're walking this path with us. For more connection and resources, you'll find everything you need in the show description. To my guests, thank you for sharing your person with us today. It is truly an honor to know your story. I'm your host, Laura Walton. Until next time, be kind to yourself and remember you're not alone in your grief. We are here on purpose.